Welcome to another meeting of the Lorain County Commissioners, broadcast exclusively on your Lorain County Community College education station. The Lorain County Commissioners cordially invite you to see the meetings live and in person every Thursday morning. The meetings are located in the Lorain County Administration Building, located at 226 Middle Avenue in downtown Elyria. The meetings start at 9:30 a.m. on most weeks. Now, enjoy the meeting.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. I came to work this week and found, I don't know what these are. I think people in Ohio. No, is there a college in Columbus called Ohio State?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know, but there was like 14 of them, then 9, then 14, and then 9, and they were, I didn't know what that meant. So,
You didn't.
I don't know.
I think you ought to wear those.
I don't know. My Wolverine gets attacked. There's Buckeyes. I don't know. They look more like dreadlocks to me.
Somebody spent a lot of time.
Someone did, and I know who they are. It's the maintenance department, but we won't use their names. But
Their initials are.
well, you know, he walks around with says Dave and Lorain County Commissioners, but he always drops the S and thinks it's him. That's the commissioner. What's that? I think someone put something else up there. What's that? Oh, I think that must be for you guys, the OSU stuff. So. Oh well, as a humbled Michigan graduate, I guess I must congratulate Ohio State. So, as you can tell, I got harassed for the last 2 weeks. So thanks.
That's it?
Yeah,
Okay. That's enough?
that's enough abuse for me.
Okay.
I'd rather do it myself.
Oh,
Yeah.
turnabout's fair play,
Yeah.
though.
Okay, under resolutions, I need a motion to approve the Job and Family Services bills for payment.
So move. Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Investments?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Appropriations?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Transfers?
So move. What were
Second.
there transfers? I don't even recall. Pardon me?
There were a couple.
No, transfer on transfers? Was there transfers?
Several? It was a lot. Okay, all right, sorry.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
There are no advances, but there are 2 repayments of advances this morning, $4,100 from Medicaid Outreach back to the general fund, and $666,744 from the Alcohol and Drug Addiction Services Board, and that's also back to the general fund.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Requisitions?
So move. Mr. Chairman, there appears to be several questions. Perhaps we should discuss these items. How do you want to handle it?
I'm not,
Second, just for discussion.
I have a lot of exceptions, so I don't want to.
I do too, but we
No,
need
that's-
a second so we can discuss it.
Well, or we can discuss it without a motion.
Discussion?
Maybe why don't you withdraw your first, and we'll discuss it, and then we'll make the motion. How's that?
Pardon me? Go ahead.
She made a motion already.
I know. I'm just saying, you better if you just,
You want to withdraw and then
Yeah.
just discuss?
I'd rather do that.
Withdraw the motion.
Okay, thanks. Want me to start, or do you want to start, or who? Want a coin?
I'll start.
Commissioner?
1799, 1860.
17.
17.
Well, let's do them one at a time.
Hold on.
Okay.
What we got here?
Because I think we all have questions.
Well, let's start with the first one, 1793.
Yeah, I thought we'd,
Consulting.
I'll tell you what, I'm not in support of that, because I thought we already had a discussion on this, and,
Do you have a copy of what we're talking about?
No, Commissioner, I don't. What is the issue on 1793?
Well, I think
Teeter's
you need to be
Consulting.
conversant. Isn't there a copy in there, Roxanne, that you can share with the
Well, I understand the TITA's consulting. I believe we agreed to hold that in abeyance until the outcome of the current litigation with representation from Thompson Hines.
So I'm not in favor of that. How about the other two?
My question is, how did it get on a requisition sheet then?
I can answer that too. Most like I was out of town, and I didn't look at a draft copy. I looked at a final version. So I most likely would have pulled that from the draft before it got to the final version, already knowing the pleasure of the board on that issue. But because I wasn't here to look at the draft, it was passed through.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm not in favor of having that on here.
So that's an exception.
Right, I believe
Well,
I left a note on that for the commissioners.
All right, well, I'm just saying, what I'm going to try to do with all the,
Yes.
well, I have an exception to that one.
All right, so
And
just-
does any other commissioners have?
Yes, I don't
Okay.
care to see that on there at this
Anybody?
point in time,
Okay, Joe?
so we're
So
taking
remove it from
all
here
off.
is what we're
Okay.
saying,
Well,
but
that-
we can't do any of this without a motion in a second.
No, I'm just writing it down so that when I make the motion, I'll say without. And then
Okay.
that's what I want to try to do. I think that'll be easier. Then we just do one motion and we're done.
Next one.
At 1793,
1794, $62,332 for GBS Computer Systems,
I have a
New Corp.
do I pull it out or?
no. I understand the issue.
Okay, what's the issue?
My first concern with my directive from the board was to have our IT person look over all issues that dealt with data, and that hadn't been accomplished on that request. So that was the first thing that came to my attention.
It was or it wasn't?
Was not.
Okay, so that's number one.
And the second issue is that the contract was entered into some months ago.
Was this approved by the data board?
I don't know about the data board, but the contract hasn't been funded and it was entered into earlier in the year.
Did we approve the contract?
This is the first time the issue is before you, Commissioner.
The contract did not come to us for approval. The contract was signed by the clerk of courts.
He has his own money for that? No, or does he?
The clerk of courts returned $175,000 under the title fund to us about 3 weeks ago, and while doing so, indicated that he would need approximately $63,000 for a computer contract to upgrade various records trackings within the courts and his own offices.
And what about the Justice Center? How many computers is he going to need when we have to shut all that down and move it over? Is this system able to be transferred over to the new Justice Center?
Yes, so that is my understanding of it, but...
You said
it's only-
yes, so if I write down
Yes.
that Jim Cortez said that this can be transferred over to the new Justice Center, then I'm okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Okay, and do we know exactly what the system is going to be used for?
No, Commissioner, I only have very, very basic knowledge of the complete issue. And we did not have our IT folks look it over, so that was one of the reasons. That's been a stipulation to me from the board. So following that procedure, I ask that that be held until that occurs.
So we'll hold that one for further information.
Okay, that's number,
I would also like to suggest that we have better avenues of communication regarding items like this. It appears that this contract was entered into on April 19th of this year, and I think that somehow we should have better communication between the departments.
Commissioner, I don't know that it's a lack of communication between departments. Clearly, the clerk of courts entered into this contract. Now, I can't debate the legality of whether he should or should not have done that, but he wasn't funded, so the contract should have been funded before it was entered into. That's the normal course of action.
So I'm suggesting that if we had better communication, perhaps this issue would not be discussed now. It would have already been taken care of. My point.
Better communication on whose part, Commissioner?
Well, this is the clerk of courts department, I would assume, with the commissioner's department, I would
Thank you.
assume.
I just wanted to understand who was not communicating.
okay, so this one here, we need to get one signed off by the director. Number two, what more information we're looking for?
The contract signing and the attachment of the appropriate certificate stating that the funds are available, I would assume. When we enter into a contract, we have to have a certificate that says the funds are available or in the process of collection.
Right.
John, where were we planning on getting the $63,000 to fund that from?
There's money in that account right now, Jim. For next year, of course, the board would have to decide on the avenue of funding for the balance of
No,
that.
that's not
My
what the
point is
commissioner
not
asked.
the 63,000. I understand that. The original contract, if you look back at it, I believe is in the amount of $235,000.
had a certificate available at that time to sign the contract, correct? That's what I thought I heard.
Yes, I believe that's my question.
I have not seen the contract, so I was not in on the ground level of that.
That's attached to the information that was sent through to us. Do you not look at that stuff?
I was not involved in this project, Commissioner, in all honesty. You know, I was looking at the funding for the present requisitions, but in terms of...
John?
It's
Well-
attached to the documentation,
John,
all of it.
Right.
you looked over the draft package this week on my behalf while I was out, so you looked at
Mhm.
the same information I looked at, okay? And you checked it on the sheet as having a concern with it.
Yeah, and exactly, and my recommendation would be just exactly what I think I'm hearing now, and that's to put it on hold until we get more information on that. I did pull that as something that I think will be needed to be addressed.
So 1799 and 1794 now will be on hold. That's 17.
93 and 94.
Oh, yeah. Why is it 99?
Because
Because
that's
that's
next.
next.
Okay, sorry, 1793. Okay, 1799? Jim, on 1799, you were supposed to get us some quotes for the video shoots for these meetings?
We did get some quotes. Ms. Newton, would you speak to that issue, please?
No, I'd rather not. I'd rather just, if you could, get that information to the three commissioners.
I did, Commissioner.
Did you?
And in fact, I routed a letter from Ms. Newton that analyzed the quotes as a recommendation.
I pro-
I passed it as an FYI letter.
October, I believe we did.
What did you, just 30 seconds?
Okay, I thought you
Hal
were-
was still the cheapest. We did all the estimations on Lake Breeze, I believe it was, and Hal still came out the cheapest to do the meetings for us.
I will make sure that you get the information if you did see it. But I asked Ms. Newton to check the various prices and make a recommendation as to a course of action. And that was done a few weeks ago.
We're going to hold this till next week.
Yeah, I'd like to review that information again.
We're going to hold for next week's agenda. Is that okay? Okay. Next week. Okay, that was 99. So we've done
So now we're at 1,800 next time.
17.
1799 was the video shots. 1,800 commissioners advertisement for economics specialist. Planner 3.
$2,100 for a, what's the $2,100 for?
That's a bill, Commissioner. That's already been executed. That was when they were advertising for those several positions that were vacant. The bill's a little dated. We're not advertising again. That's already been accomplished.
Right, let me back up here a little bit. Explain to me what a requisition is then. Aren't they asking us to spend the money?
Some things have to come on a requisition that you agree to because of the dollar level that's expended, rather than coming on a white back.
Right.
The board did authorize in executive session on several occasions to Mr. Foat to advertise for this position, and he did so. And that's the bill for doing so.
This had to be done at a public meeting, couldn't be done in an executive session.
It was potential new hires and so forth. We went through a list of potential candidates that for the jobs. If I recall, there wasn't suitable candidates that the board was supportive of, and they wanted to go back and once again look at a larger pool of candidates.
Was this advertised in the CIDS, the County Commissioners Association?
Yes, it was, Commissioner. In fact, we have a standing policy to go there with our ads.
Did you get any replies from the CIDS?
I can't address that, Commissioner. Mr. Foat's not available here this morning to answer that. I don't know that Jonette could.
And you didn't get any replies from this either? Did you get any response from this?
We ended up hiring some folks, and I know there's
Planner
another.
3s?
Yes, and I know there's another individual in the Hopper that's going to be recommended and is going for a drug test. Now, Mr. Focht should be back here. We need to go into the executive session for a personnel issue. We can hold this until that time if you'd like, and we can discuss it further as far as that new hire goes.
How do we correct this so that it's a, if that happened, it had to have happened back in July, according to the dates here.
Well, in order to correct it, we'd have to indicate that something was wrong. I don't think that anything was wrong. So
No, I
don't
think we should have had, if we did discuss advertising for a job, we should have put it as a requisition the following week to vote on that, to advertise that job. That's my understanding then, instead of coming through as a requisition as a paid, this is a paid bill now, right?
Commissioner, all I can indicate to you is that this is the way it's been done. Doesn't mean it can't be done differently. We had bills for the Journal and the Chronicle for this advertising also that came in earlier. This one just came in later. Ms. Newton, this is not outside the norm, is it?
No, it isn't. Anytime we advertise, the bills usually come later after we've advertised, just like a bid that we advertise. They usually come later.
Okay. How I feel is that, what's our policy then? Is it, since it's over, if it's under 750, you don't have to do this? Kind of refresh my memory on this one.
$750, the directors can approve the expenditure.
Right,
Anything
so-
over $750 has to come back to the board for approval.
What I would like then, after that statement, then this should have, I just feel personally that this should have been came before us, before we paid, I mean, this is just,
This is like after the fact.
yeah.
That's
and
how I feel too.
I appreciate how the commissioners feel, but I will remind you that you agreed to this, to advertise for this position.
That's not the issue. The issue is we agreed to it, let's say we agreed to it on the 15th of July. Then we should have put this on the requisition at that time, saying now that we've agreed to it, let's put it on here, let's pay for it, or let's see, let's vote to pay for it. And then it should be on another, it should be on an appropriation then, at that point, correct? Because right now what we're voting on is appropriation
What you're voting on is a requisition, sir.
for something that was spent in August 4th.
Something that was authorized to be and approved to be expended, yes, sir.
Do you have that document? No, because we did it. Obviously, we must have discussed it in executive session.
Commissioner, Mr. Focht would not go out and spend $2,000 advertising a position without being directed to do so. by the
Let me
board.
stop. Let me do this. I know, I'm not looking at names or nothing. What I'm talking about is the system. I guess I'm not happy with the system. Can you see a better way of doing this?
Certainly, we can do it any way you like, sir.
I said, can you see a better way of doing this? Or do you want to just continue? Does the commissioners wish to continue doing this type of advertisements where it comes to us after we spend it? Or would the
No.
commissioners prefer to, if we agree to advertise for employment, that it should show up as a requisition after we agree to do that?
I've never agreed to any spending after the fact. I believe it should be on the requisition before the spending.
And I guess, that's how I feel. That's how I think it should go. I'm not accusing anybody. All I'm saying is, if that's how it's always been done, then let's just change it and
No,
make it.
it's not. No,
Okay, well, that's what I'm hearing. So what I'm saying is, in the future, if we agree to do some advertisements and it's more than $750, then it should come before us before we spend the money.
We could also have a blanket purchase order.
Mhm.
I mean, is our objective here to, I'm sorry, we could also have a blanket purchase order. I think that the function is to fulfill the obligation and not so much to nitpick how it's done.
Correct.
Um,
Well, no, I want to,
And I'm not
I'm not saying
suggesting that
nitpicking.
you are nitpicking how it's done,
Right.
but you're asking if there's a better way to do it. And I'm suggesting that we'll make make it so cumbersome that we'll never get anything done. If in fact we did discuss this and we authorized the placing of advertisements, that the subject of the dollar amount
Mhm.
after the fact seems kind of nebulous to me. Although I think we should raise the question, and this is a great deal of amount of money to spend. Sometimes you don't know what the cost is
Right.
until afterwards. So what I'm suggesting is if you want this, a more formalized procedure, perhaps a blanket purchase order for advertising to this department for the 3 months which a blanket purchase order is allowed would be in order.
Well, I think when it comes to advertising, I think you can know in advance the cost, because you give them so many words, they're going to tell you right on the phone when you give them the ad how much it's going to be. Then after they get that, bring it back to us and put it on the requisition.
I don't disagree with you, Commissioner, at all. I'm not in disagreement with anything that's been said here. Whatever the procedure of the board, whatever the desire is, fine with me.
Well, I think the bottom line is we don't want to see this again after the fact.
And I understand that. I just want to make it clear that we didn't go ahead and act without certain authority to do this the way it's been done.
I understand what you're saying, Jim. We're just, bottom
Okay, I
line,
understand.
that's it.
The bottom line is if it's more than $750, it's going to show up as a requisition.
And not only that, but I question
no.
the $750 purchases too. I've been questioning them.
Okay, I think.
And I saw some just on the whitebacks this week. Purchase of chairs, $360-some from the same company on one line, and then a little bit lower, $360-some for seemed to be the same chairs on another line. So that just went right under the $750 and went by. That can blow our budget.
Oh, yeah, I'm willing to revisit that. My concern right now is advertising dollars and how it's spent, so why don't we do this? If we've agreed to do it in the future, if it's going to be above the allotment, whatever that number is going to be, they can get quotes and pass it through as a requisition for us. I don't see what's so difficult about that. Everyone else does it for everything else here. These are all requisitions except for what the clerk of courts did. Other than that, we always get upset when people spend money without asking, and we have to pass it through as a requisition. So all I'm saying is if we can change the way we do it.
Well, we expect that from other departments.
Exactly.
That's what we should do. We should set the example. Okay, move on.
Well, I mean, I don't have a problem paying for the $1,800. I just want to make sure in the future it doesn't come up again like that.
It's 2,000.
No, I mean, it's number 1,800.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't have a problem paying that. Does other commissioners?
Well, we have to pay it.
Okay, so that'll be on there. So in the future, can we make sure we get a requisition before we go above the...
I understand your position,
Okay.
Commissioner.
Okay, then my next ones would be any ones with Clemens and Nelson's, and I've always disagreed on that. I believe it can be done in-house. Those are union contracts for negotiations, and our Human Resource Department should be doing those. We shouldn't have this expense, period.
I'm going to reserve my comments regarding this for the budget discussions. So I agree, yet I'm going to agree to pay the Clemens Nelsons for this time frame, but I think next year we can visit how we do our contracts, which will be next Thursday.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please
Hopefully.
note my exception on those. Next one. I've got 1803, greeting cards.
1803, is that, when I first saw that, I thought it was Christmas cards, but I don't think, Ron, that's Christmas cards, is it? Is that part of our marketing strategies?
Yes.
Can you
And they're going out to specific companies in Lorain County that we work with. It has our name down, the Community Development Department, a division of Lorain County Board of County Commissioners. And it's a end of the year, summary and courtesy card that's being sent out. I forget the exact number at this point, but it's part of the marketing effort.
I had originally set that aside because I wasn't sure what the greeting inside the card was going to say. I'm comfortable with the greeting. That was the information I was waiting on.
Okay.
Is this the cost for the cards and the mailing? Or just the cards? It's $3,600.
I believe that's the cost of the cards and shipping them to us with the pre-printed information on the inside. It does not include the cost of mailing.
Ron, did you check with our office downstairs with the, because I know they've been doing cards for us, and they've done a beautiful job.
On this particular one, no, we did not.
Okay. Our Have these already been ordered too?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
But then you can still check
We can
downstairs
still
to
check
see
down
it.
there, and we can still, if this isn't approved for some reason, we don't have any commitment to these cards whatsoever. We've just got prices.
Okay, because I know they just did some for me with Santa Clauses on them in color, and they're really beautiful. Okay.
Any other issues?
Yeah. Hold on a minute. Okay, 1808, there's some chairs.
1808, 1809.
Ovals. 1808 and 1809.
We have about $2,900 worth of office furniture being purchased. Jim, is this the kind of stuff that's going to be used in the new Justice Center?
No, sir, this purchase of this furniture is for the DH.
DH says DR.
Well, DR is responsible for the DH, sir. Mr. Rokes, I understand that furniture is going to the domestic,
Yes, it's 20-year-old
Detention
furniture. I did
facility.
call about that, Commissioners, and the indication to me was this furniture was about 20 years old. This is being kept in barely workable condition, and they felt that it was highly desirable that they replace this equipment. Being that old, they're on a 24/7 situation out there. This furniture gets a lot of beating, and they wanted to replace it. So I did call about that.
but this will be going out to the DH, sir.
How's our warehouse doing? Do we have any excess furniture out there?
There
No-
was none out there.
nothing?
They checked, and that's why they came and got the prices for
You
it.
got a
Try to
couple-
buy them on the web, on our own webpage? No.
We got a couple three-legged chairs, but they're kind of hard to sit in.
Keep you moving. Okay. DH. Commissioner Blair, do you have anything on there?
No,
I feel like we're kind of ignoring you a little bit.
No, I wouldn't let you do that.
Okay.
My next one would be 1850, Emergency Management Consulting Services.
Is anyone here from?
The consulting services for what issue, Commissioner?
EMA, Emergency Management Agency.
Well,
The sheriff and
It
the
says-
EMA and the sheriff's department were purchasing the same type of equipment. I was looking at, it's HEM interrogation.
Okay, that was pulled. I asked that that one get pulled and sent back. We're redirecting that. It's going to be, that comes out of LEPC funds that are, the check is issued out of EMA under LEPC, so we shouldn't have been paying for that. That's why I asked it to be pulled. So that needs to be taken off. That was one of the ones they set aside.
How about the sheriff's? It was 5982 for the same thing.
The sheriff's here, he would have to address that, sir.
Yeah, but didn't,
That's not for LEPC.
oh.
It's not EMA.
No, 5934. I guess what Jim was saying is that 15, sorry, Sheriff, I didn't mean to throw you off there.
I'm not sure which requisition you're talking
Well,
about.
here, let me go back a little bit here. EMA Consulting Services, it said here, for HEM interrogation for 1820, what Jim was saying, that they have some special funds that will pay for that.
Right, so that issue is separate from the sheriff's use.
Okay, I thought it was tied together. Let me see if I can find it for you.
Phil, the computer
first.
consultant, that handled the servers and installation of various computer equipment out at the jail.
Now, is this with the CAD system for the OSSI?
I don't think it's CAD, it looks more desktop and server and
Oh,
software.
you're talking with Hal McDonald.
Right.
I believe. Yes, and I believe we already had a, yes, this is work that I think we had a blanket purchase order, I believe, prior to this for his work. And yes, he is working on the CAD system, our computer-aided dispatch, that this type of work was needed to obviously hook up this type of equipment because this is something I can tell you that definitely was needed now that I'm looking at it.
Now, is that part of the, that original approval?
I believe it is.
That 284,000 for the CAD system, I believe it was, or something?
Now that I'm not real sure of, I can check on that for you, but I know this is
You were
work.
getting
that
better
was
prices, I
ongoing.
know that. It was coming in cheaper than what you thought, that CAD
Yes,
system.
that's
so-
correct.
Yeah, that's what this looks like. It's all part of that.
Okay, thank you.
So
Thanks, Sheriff.
there is problem with invoice 183402?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't know about Commissioner Vacy, but,
Did you want to wait for him to look, see if that was part of the,
yeah, well, I see it's in there.
is it?
Yeah. It was all
Okay,
under it, so
okay.
I think that's all that I had on here.
I've got one more, 1858, Job and Family Service laptop computer equipment, map software,
1858,
58.
okay.
Map software, $4,495. Is there anything,
I'd have to look.
can you tell us what that's about? Yeah, for map software?
Do you have that? There was some additional information. I may be able to address that.
That's it.
Excuse me, Jim.
I mean, is that for mapping? This isn't real clear.
A lot of times when they speak to software being mapping, it has to do with organization of files on the computer. It's not mapping as we understand the traditional use of the word mapping. I'm looking at the letter on the request.
There seems to be a lot of stuff scratched out on here, too.
If you hold it, I will take a look at the issue further. I don't have any additional information provided on this purchase, Commissioner.
Something with Wonder Years. Does that ring a bell?
The only laptop I'm familiar with is child care certification, where they use the laptop to actually visit the home and be certified as child care providers, and they use a program within that system, within that laptop.
You're going to check on that one, Jim?
Certainly, Commissioner.
What number was that? 1857?
That's the last one I had, I think.
185802, I
58.
believe.
Okay. And 1798,
17, 19.
yeah, it says Commissioners' Services Rendered. It's kind of similar to what we just discussed about with Plain Dealer. Want to get it out, or do you?
I don't know, services rendered on what
Squire
issue?
Sanders and
Squires.
Ramsey.
That issue has been ongoing all year. That's professional services bill.
Preparation for the O2 annual information filing. So that's what it's for the,
Well, there was several cleanup issues and smaller issues detailed in that bill.
express mail, $220. So this is a running contract that we have with this firm?
It's similar to the contracts we use with most of our professional services folks. Although we pretty much have concluded with regard to most of the services.
Are we still using these guys then for this, or what?
I don't understand the question, Commissioner.
Do we have to do this every year?
No.
I think we do, don't we? The 2002 annual information filing?
Oh, I didn't understand the question. You're talking about with the company. The filing has to be done every year. We're doing, my understanding now is that we're doing, in fact, my understanding for this year was that we were doing it in-house, and Mr. Twining's folks have been handling, tracking all those outstanding bond issues. Ron, would you please come and speak to this for a moment?
Yeah, just about a year ago, we went through all of the county's industrial revenue bonds and actually put, when they were approved, the resolution numbers, all of the information on all revenue bonds, and have kept that system updated as we approve any of them during the course of the year. So we do, in fact, keep that list for the county.
This was something that you and I addressed in 2001 because we were missing a lot of information. It took
Correct.
several months to go back and, well,
Yeah,
we
we
went back
put two
several
people on it
decades.
for about three weeks to get what we felt was a complete list. We ended up with not the sheet and a half that was submitted, but I think our list is about 8 pages long of projects that, you know, are in various stages of completion. But we believe our list to be accurate and complete.
I don't know where the missed signals were this year and who was preparing the report. John, do you have any?
Yes, I could add to that. There is an annual information statement required because of our bond issue and the budget bond issues outstanding. And the Budget Department prepares that but works with Squire Sanders each year. We work in partnership to review that, and Squires provides valuable information as well as my department. So that is an annual ongoing. It's an SEC requirement, and it's a legitimate type cost.
No, I'm asking, are we going to continue with this or not? That's what I was asking.
From my department, I would say unless there's something in the law or someone in the legal department to tell us otherwise, it's my understanding it's an ongoing legal requirement.
Commissioner,
No, I'm just
I
saying-
will. I understand what the issue is, and
Okay.
it'll come to the board before we go any further.
Thank you. That's what I was asking.
Okay. I will move on the requisite. Any more?
Well, my understanding is that we're in agreement on 1793, 99, 94, and I think,
What about 18 was for executive session?
for what?
To talk about an executive session, to
Oh, the plain
discuss
dealer?
that? Yeah.
Oh,
No,
we-
the plain dealer.
I've already, we got to pay it. I just think
Okay.
what happened today was that, I don't think it's going to happen again. That's what was
Not
more.
my lifetime.
That's what I was more, that's kind of what I was getting at on that one. Let's see, I had 1793, 1794, 99 is going to be held, 1800.
Shirley.
Yep, 1800 is, I'm putting on those.
Is okay.
Trying to see what else. We're holding off something else, too.
I had,
What's that?
Commissioner Vacy had a few, 1803.
1815, consulting
Yeah,
services.
1815.
1815.
Oh, the greeting cards too, 1803.
Well, I'm okay with the greeting cards.
Yeah, but we can probably get them done downstairs for a lot less.
But
He was gonna check, Ron was gonna check on it.
Let's hold that till next week.
what number was that one?
1803.
1803.
Let me ask this question. If we hold this to next week,
We're going to miss
are
the
you
end of
still
the
going to be able to get it done?
Now, if you hold it, and it's fine, we haven't placed any orders, so if it's not voted on today, we can't physically get the cards out before the end of the year.
That's what I
So
was-
we'll just go on and do something different, if it's work downstairs or do something the beginning of the year with a slightly different card, that's fine. We saw it as a marketing effort, and we just merely proposed it to the Board of Commissioners at this point.
Can't
I-
you do it
I
for
have
New
no-
Year's?
I
Can we
have
do
no,
it for New Year's, Ron?
Pardon me?
Send out a card for Happy New Year's, you know,
We can,
and best wishes
Sure.
for the year?
sure, it's whatever the Commissioners feel comfortable with.
How much have you spent already this year?
Nothing?
You serious? What about the pamphlets we did? Where'd that come out of?
They were done,
And
the
marketing?
folders, you mean?
I mean, we budget $100,000 a year for
You're
marketing.
asking me to do this off the top of my head. We had about
We do it every day like
$25,000. There was a total of $100,000 in marketing, I
Right.
believe, and it was divvied up. We did some marketing on the cable stations. I don't remember. I think that was roughly 12,000, 8,000, something like that we did during the course of the year. We spent about $3,000 or $4,000 now on the brochure productions, and we've refined that. This was out of the pot of money that was, I think, $12,000 or $25,000 that we understood were these specific types of marketing, and we have spent nothing out of that fund yet. It's taken a while to get this program up and running, to do the marketing the way that we feel will be appropriate, and the way that the commissioners want us to do. So it's not a problem. We can, we'll still have, we assume, $25,000 for next year, and we'll continue on the marketing front. But I don't think that these particular cards, we won't be able to get them on next week's agendas, approved, ordered, delivered. Perchance we can do it downstairs, but then we wouldn't need a purchase order. So, you know, if it's not approved this week, we'll just go to Phase B.
When this thing was established, nobody was really marketing the county properly, I felt, and that's why we put the money there and budgeted for it. And
Sure.
if we have the ability to do it in-house, that's fine, but it hasn't been done.
Right.
So my concern is it won't get done, and once again, another year has gone by of something that was passed in March of '01. So if the two of you would like to take it off, that's fine, but I'd like to have it on.
How many people are you going to send this to? I know that. And please don't send one to him.
Brian Barker has worked on that, Commissioners. I want to say it was like 2,500, but I can't tell you without going back and looking specifically. He took what I call the old SIC codes. It has a new description now, but it's types of businesses and specific to Lorain County that generated a mailing list, and we took those that we thought we would get the best PR with for the Board of Commissioners and our department that are probably going to need some assistance from the Board of County Commissioners. So this was a targeted select audience that we were sending those cards out at this time of year. We can still do that, you know, in January or February if you want us to go some other way. Frankly, I'm getting, and I probably shouldn't go here, but I'm getting $25,000 in budget. We tried to spend $3,000. Granted, it's the end of the year, and we're getting a message that you don't want us to spend $3,000 of that $25,000. You'd rather us spend $1,000. So we have to understand exactly what the parameters are in the marketing effort and our expenditures that the commissioners are going to want us to do. But we'll refine that, and we'll get on track.
My question would be, if this is approved today, you're going to be able to place this order, process it, and get it in the mail timely?
Yes. Yes.
I heard you. I'm just looking at you so I can absorb the full yes. All right. That being the case, I will not ask that it be held.
Because that's, okay, so we're looking,
Help me as an exception on that.
okay. Now, we already up at
I
Tate.
think that, you know, just because you have the money in there, and if you can get the product for less, that you should, you know, at least attempt to get it for less.
No, I agree, but
And
we,
Ron is saying we have the time to do it, so I don't understand why we should spend almost $4,000 if we can get it done for $1,000.
I've been out talking to the business community, and every time I do a speech, everyone comes up and shakes my hand and says, gosh, I didn't know. I didn't know you guys had that. I didn't know you had that ability. I've talked to bankers, and the bankers are saying, hey, what does the county have that we can offer our commercial customers who are struggling right now in this county? And I'm saying, well, we have this, we have this, we have this, we have this. I didn't know. And 2 years ago, that's why I promoted that we need to market ourselves, market this county, and let people know what we have to help people in this community. And that's,
I agree with you there,
but
but
it's-
that's a brochure, not a card. The card's not going to tell them what we have.
No, not the way he described it. It's something that, my understanding was this was not a greeting card. This is not a greeting card. It's basically saying, hello, we are here. This is the products we have? Is that my understanding, Ron, or no?
It's the brochure, I think.
Don't sit down on this one. You might as well stay up there until we actually figure out what we're voting on next. And then we'll deal with number 14.
It was not a season's greetings card. Frankly, it had a penguin on the front, and it had more of a commercial message. I forget what the wording was exactly, but it was something along the lines that at this time of the year, we want to congratulate you and your business opportunity. We were going to have little inserts that included a business card from various staff members and an insert that would give a brief description of who to contact at the county and the type of programs that we would offer. It wouldn't be pre-printed in there. That would be pre-printed by the folks down in the mailroom, this insert. But that was the purpose of the card that was being mailed out at this time of the year. But it wasn't anything to do with the end of the year per se. It just coincidentally came at the end of the year.
But this cost is just for a greeting card, correct, Ron?
The card and envelopes, yeah. Yeah, and
Let me say again, are you explaining what you're doing, or is this just saying,
Yes.
hi, we're here?
Excuse me?
Are you explaining what the services are now?
we're making the contact. We're not going into great deal like the brochure, but we're saying here are the business, the programs we offer through the county to assist businesses, and here's a contact person to get more detail from us, yes.
Okay. Be prepared to defend your marketing budget next week, if we get the budget next week, okay?
Okay, sure.
Because I'm not too happy with how this marketing budget's been executed.
I
Ron, do you
understand.
have any, are you keeping a record of what response you get from this marketing program? Like if you're advertising in magazines, you're getting X number of calls from
I'm not, but
that?
the staff is, yes,
Okay, good.
And the names of the responders?
yes.
In fact,
And
why don't you
the most successful thing that we've done so far is just before Thanksgiving, we spent 3 days over at the IX Center at a trade show, and by and far, that is where we've gotten the most follow-up letters and phone calls from that 3-day session where staff went over and attended there.
Well, you
But
did-
we're trying to track.
No, but that's, you've been tracking all the other marketing programs that we've had. Have you done a report on the marketing program itself yet? I mean, could you guys work on one for us?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you put on
We
like...
can get that. We're going to have it for the annual report, and we're getting it together by the end of the year.
We should
So
keep it as a separate item, though. I'd like to
Okay.
see what you've done for the last 12 months, and I'd like to see what you're going to propose for the next 12 months.
Okay.
'Cause if you're going to know what the trade shows are going to be for the next year, you should know what the next, all the trade shows and the any marketing pieces, so that we're not sitting here 2 weeks. Our last, we got 2 more meetings before the end of the year, and we're talking about
And I will inform the public and the commissioners that we have some interesting things on the trade shows coming up. One that everybody has suggested that we will have great success and should attend is, frankly, at Chicago, Illinois. And we're putting in for that now because they have a 12-month lead time. And a lot of these trade shows, we have that. So part of the problem is our gearing up, getting ready and prepared to do that with the marketing pieces and brochures and things, and part of it is getting in the cycle to go to the right trade shows and the ones that will benefit us here in Lorain County. But we'll have that ready.
Thank you.
Well, yeah,
Sure.
if you have something like that, it'll give us an idea where the money is working. Okay, thanks, Ron.
Sure.
Thank you.
I have an exception on that one.
Okay. I'm writing down the exceptions that I think the board is agreeable to, all 3 of us, which would be, and if you guys could correct me and watch what I've got here. I'll make a motion eventually, but let me just do it. I'm looking at 1799, 1858, 1793, and 1794 as something that everybody has, agreed to. And
Read those again, please.
1799, 1858, and 1793, and 1794. They're either to hold, we'll just say to hold, okay? Is there, I think that's the one that the 4 of us have agreed to. Is there anything else? I see
You lost me again, you went too fast.
1799,
Okay,
we're holding the video shoot.
yeah.
1793, we're holding the consulting. $17.94, we're holding the GBS computer systems. $18.58, we're holding the, are we holding the laptop? I think we're holding that, aren't we?
Yes,
Okay.
I thought we were.
Okay, that's the only four that I knew.
And 1815, the
Okay.
consulting services for EMA, Mr. Cordes
For
said
EMA.
that the funding
Okay.
source was inaccurate. I believe that's what you said.
Okay, and there'll be,
And did you make my exceptions?
well, we'll have, then we'll have our
1815.
then we'll have our individual exceptions.
Yeah, I've got to know which ones I'm accepting.
Right.
1803,
Okay,
got that one, Roxanne?
No, this is-
1803?
Yes.
Commissioners, if I might clarify one thing. Is it,
we were almost done. but
I know.
Can you wait until Commissioner Vacy's done with her exceptions?
sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
1803,
1796, 97, 1801, 1802, any with Clemens and Nelson.
sure, I got it.
And what about those, okay, those chairs for domestic relations for the DH, we're okay with those?
Yep.
And
You know, I initialed on
1803?
it, that I had an exception, but I don't have an exception now that it was explained, so do I have to cross that out, or?
Well, could you?
Okay, well, this is, okay.
But I have notes.
You should take care of it in the motion that's made.
Okay, that
And
should be
that should cover
sufficient?
those
Okay.
sheets regardless of what the sheet says. The
Okay.
motion
That's what I
and
thought.
the exception should take care of that.
Okay.
Especially after this extensive discussion.
Thank you. You have all yours on there?
1815?
We're all,
We were
Already.
holding that
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
we're all agree with that.
Okay. And what did we do with 1834? That one was for the sheriff.
Yeah, I was okay with
Holding.
that one.
We're okay with that?
Yeah.
You figured that was a part of the 200,000?
285,
And we're paying that in portions, we didn't pay it at 280,000 yet.
right. Okay.
Nope.
Nope.
1858, that was the laptop.
Yeah, we have that on there already.
We're holding that.
Mhm.
Okay. I just had mine organized on this sheet, that's why I had to go over them again. Okay, I guess that's all I have.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the requisitions with, we're holding on 1799, 1858, 1793, 1794, and 1815. That's my motion.
I'll second.
Any more discussion?
There's discussion because Commissioner Vacy wants to list.
You had all
For
my
exceptions.
exceptions.
You got that?
Mr. Moore?
Discussion? Ron, Twain, do you have any discussion?
The only thing, Mr. Okese and Ms. Newton gave me a copy of the purchase order, the requisition that we filled out. For clarification, the greeting cards, and I didn't remember what all was included in this, the greeting cards are $530 for 1,000 greeting cards. That's all that's in that requisition. The rest of the requisition, we were ordering 5,000 pens that say Lorain County Community Development Department on it. That came to $3,150. So the requisition to this company is for $3,680, but only $530 is the greeting cards. If it doesn't confuse people, if you want to pull out the pens until next year, that's fine. That will reduce the cost, but the cards themselves wasn't $3,000. The cards were only, with the envelopes, were only $530. And what the card says, there's no business like your business.
Okay. Thanks, Ron.
More discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
I with the noted exceptions.
Madam Clerk, could you read number 14 if the board doesn't mind? Some people here waiting for that one.
Under Commissioners, item number 14, a resolution approving the $330 million in industrial revenue bonds, Section 140, hospital facilities for Catholic Healthcare Partners. Kathy Petrie, here from Squires.
Kathy, would you like to make a statement?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Catherine Petrie. It's P-E-T-R-E-Y with Squire Sanderson Dempsey. I've been representing the county as issuer counsel on this financing for Catholic Healthcare Partners. This project was approved by the CIC several weeks ago. You had a public hearing on it last week. We have reviewed all of the documents that are referenced in this resolution as being approved by the board and that are to be signed by the board, and everything is in order. And I had sent to Roxanne a letter of advice to the board confirming that review. So it's, and our recommendation and advice is that everything is in order and satisfactory form for the board to take action.
And Catherine, for the record, you are assuring the board that there will not be any liability on the part of the county?
Well, there's no liability on the part of the county with respect to the payment of principal and interest on the bonds. And the documents provide indemnification to the board from Catholic Healthcare Partners for any other types of costs that might arise. You can't be completely released from any cost or liability. Anybody can file a lawsuit for whatever reason, and you will incur some administrative expense as a result of that. You are indemnified by Catholic Healthcare Partners against that type of an expense. So I would say that you have all of the protections that are available to you from liability on a conduit financing such as this.
Now, is the hospital facilities is Catholic Healthcare Partners a separate entity?
Catholic, I may want to bring in Jason George from Peck, Schaefer & Williams, who is the bond counsel for Catholic Healthcare Partners. They are the parent organization, with Community Healthcare Partners being the local entity. Gary Wengard is here also from Community Healthcare Partners.
Thanks. I just had a question. Are you guys a separate entity?
It is a separate entity. It's a
Okay,
separate corporation. They have affiliates throughout the state.
That's all I asked. Okay. So they're not affiliated with the diocese?
No.
Okay. If anybody's watching what's going on out east, I just want to make sure that if any bankruptcy proceedings do come up, I want to make sure this is a separate entity. Okay. Thank you.
Any questions?
This is a long-standing issue. I think that the CIC met, according to my notes, on October 31st and approved this issue. So it was a matter of getting all the paperwork formalized. And the issue's before us today, so I'll move for approval.
Second?
Any more discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Thanks for coming in. We also have a 10:30 public hearing, so,
We do.
well, it is 10:36. If you don't mind. Go ahead.
Well, you don't think nothing going home?
I'm all home. No, I'm just getting this off
Oh.
my desk. If we're going to have an annexation hearing, I'll make some room. I'm sure this is going to be a lot more fun.
Okay, do we start?
Sure.
Let them set up first.
Are they ready? Go ahead.
Okay, we have the continued hearing on the proposed annexation of approximately 58.32 acres in Elyria Township to the City of Elyria, Ohio. Attorney Garrett Murray is acting on behalf of Ernie Celestio, agent, Billy S. Rowland, trustee of the Billy S. Rowland Trust, agent for petitioners. The first public hearing was scheduled and held on Thursday, August 16, 2001, at 11 a.m. Commissioner Blair read a brief statement on the proposed annexation. Assistant Prosecutor Jerry Innes administered an oath to everyone making testimony. Commissioner Blair conducted the hearing, asking for comments from Attorney Murray, the county engineer, township trustees, and anyone expressing their opposition to or approval to this annexation. After receiving testimony, Attorney Murray requested this hearing be continued due to the lack of time permitted and more evidence needs to be presented at a later date. Everyone in attendance concurred, and resolution number 01-780 scheduled a continued hearing for Thursday, October 25th, 2001 at 10:30 a.m. At the hearing on October 25th, 2001, Attorney Murray again requested a continuance of this hearing. He indicated that he has been in discussions with Assistant County Prosecutor Jerry Innes, Attorney Elizabeth Popovich, Eric Rothgary, and Chris Eichenlaub from the City of Elyria, and further discussion was needed. All present were in favor of this continuance, and resolution number 01-990, adopted October 25th, 2001, scheduled the continuance hearing for Thursday, January 17th, 2002, at 10:30 a.m. The continued hearing was opened on January 17th, 2002, by Commissioner Moore. Attorney Murray commented that the township and city were still working to have an agreement on the JED proposal, and was requesting another continuance until Thursday, February 28th, 2002, at 10:30 a.m. Everyone present was in agreement, and resolution number 02-48, adopted January 17th, 2002, scheduled the continuance hearing for February 28th. All parties agreed that the continuance hearing for February 28th, 2002 would be continued until March 28th, 2002, and a resolution was adopted due to ongoing discussions that are still taking place and the possibility of forming a JED. On March 28th, 2002, again, all parties agreed to continue this hearing until April 25th, 2002, based again upon the request by Attorney Murray, the City of Elyria, and Elyria Township relative to the proposed JED agreement. And another agreement was reached by all parties that continued hearing for April 25th, 2002 be continued for today, December 5th, 2002 at 10:30 by resolution number 02301.
Okay. Attorney Murray, would you like to make any further statements? Then, has been discussed in the past, since the JED wasn't approved, I didn't know if you have any more statements to make for this? I think that's what you were waiting on the JED, whether or not that was going to be approved.
I would just indicate that this matter was filed on May 30th. First of all, my name is Garrett Murray, and my address is 409 East Avenue, Elyria. This matter was filed on May 30th of 2001, and the initial hearing was on August 16th of 2001, and it was continued about approximately 5 times for the purpose of negotiation between the City of Elyria, Elyria Township, and my client regarding the execution of a JED agreement and a CEDA agreement, and that agreement was executed on 9/23/02, and it provided that if the JED passed, that my client property would remain in the township, and we would withdraw our petition for annexation. It also provided that if the JED agreement did not pass by the voters, that the township would not have any opposition to the annexation of our property to the City of Elyria. And so that is why we're here today. I just might also reflect that on the initial hearing was on August 16th of 2001, and at that particular time we presented and filed transcripts of all the proceedings to that date to verify to you that we did comply with the statute regarding filing, notice, service, etc. I did bring with me today exhibits, the exhibit of the JED agreement that was entered, and Section 5 is the one that's pertinent about not opposing our annexation. And I also brought along declarations of restrictions, which the JED agreement required my client to file, indicating that if the JED failed, or if the JED passed, that we would withdraw our annexation petition. And you'll recall also that my client agreed to wait, notwithstanding the fact that they had an interested party to develop the property, interested in waiting to see the outcome of the JED agreement.
This came under the old law, correct?
Yes, ma'am, this is under the old law.
So what do we do now? Are we still okay going under the old law, or do we have to make some changes?
No, Commissioner, you still go under the old law.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody here in opposition to this annexation would like to speak? Please state your name.
Yeah, if
What?
we're going to
Oh,
have extra
sorry.
testimony, then
We forgot to even swear in the lawyer, and we know we always have to swear in lawyers, right?
He was just running a summary.
Okay.
I don't think he's testified to anything.
No, don't go there, man.
But if anybody's going to give testimony, then we can swear him in.
I got a new friend out there. Anybody wish to, please rise if anyone has any statements to make in opposition or in favor, or any other discussions. Anybody wish to speak? Please stand and raise your hand. Just one.
The agreement that I have
Yeah.
is not to present to you as an exhibit today, is not the JED agreement. It was an agreement between the township and the city and my client to what would occur regarding the separate JED agreement and the separate CEDA agreement. So I'd like to present this to you.
Sure. So now what do we do? I mean, there's no one.
Well, I would like to indicate to the commissioners that even though the effort to get the JED was not successful, I think it's important to publicly acknowledge that the city of Elyria and Mr. Murray's clients, the Rowlands, bent over backwards to cooperate to this out and do everything they could. So I think the city of Elyria and the Browns, I know the way it was read, it was that Murray kept asking for continuances, but he was the lead man that had to do that. But his client, and again the city of Elyria, made exceptional efforts to try to work this out, and I think that should be publicly acknowledged. We can close the receiving of the evidence and proceed to vote on the issue at this point. And it's under the old standards, so all that is required is a finding that it's for the good of the territory to be annexed.
Okay.
And that all the other statutory requirements have been met, and those have been stipulated to at previous hearings.
Okay. So I move to close the hearing.
Second.
Any more discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
What's the pleasure of the board? Do you guys want to rule on it today?
Might as well.
I'm prepared to vote.
All right, I move that, I find that the good of the territory sought to be annexed, for the good of the territory sought to be annexed. I would move to approve. And what was the other thing we needed, Jerry?
That all the statutory requirements have been met.
And all the
regarding
statutory
procedural
requirements.
issues.
That's a lot of land. How much, I didn't have my notes here, but I wonder almost how much more land is left in the city of Elyria that's not parks and recreation type of land.
I'll second.
I mean, in the township.
Any more discussion?
Wait.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Thank you for being patient.
Thank you.
You guys did a good job trying to get everyone. We appreciate you taking the lead on that.
Yeah, I think some good has come out of it anyway.
Oh, I think so, too.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Okay.
I have one
Resolution?
question. Mr. Murray, just real fast, could a JED, I know we did a JED before, couldn't it be done without going to the vote of the people? I don't think people really understood it.
There,
Yeah,
Commissioner,
you can,
You have to come.
but if you're going to do it, then the majority of the, want me to go over this?
Yeah, please.
Excuse me. I think, yeah. My name is Terry Schilling. My address is 328 Broad Street, Elyria, Ohio. To answer your specific question, Mrs. Vacy, yes, a JED can be approved without going to the voters. And how that is done is the majority of the property owners for the land to be included in a JED have to sign a petition and approve it. And if they do so, then a JED agreement can be entered into. But in this particular case, because of the extensive number of property owners, it was felt that to go out and get a petition would be almost impossible. That's why this particular one went to the voters. But yes, it can be done without going to the voters.
It's a shame, because I don't believe that the township really realized how much land they were losing. The residents of that township didn't realize how much land that would cut into from the township.
I don't know about the residents
Yeah.
themselves, but I do know that the township
It's a
trustees
shame.
clearly worked with the city, and, you know, we did everything we could to make it so that it stayed within
Yes.
the township. And we thank you
Thanks.
very much
Thank
for
you.
your consideration of this matter. Have any more questions?
Well, thank the mayor and the city council and all those that were involved in working on this. It was a terrific job, and it was good, a good neighborly gesture, so.
Mr. Ennis, am I to understand?
Thank you
that
very
this
much.
issue will be presented to the voters again in May?
that is the plans to try and resubmit it again this in May.
Yeah, but it'll be too late. I
It will be
Well,
too
it's
late
too
for
late
this
for this
piece of
property.
property, but I think maybe it will be a wake-up call to what will continue to happen if something is not changed.
That has not been formally voted upon by either the jurisdictions, but I think it's going to be presented to each in December.
Good,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Okay, no questions, we're back to item number 7, travel expenses.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Approving bills for payment.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
A personal summary, we will have an executive session afterwards.
Yes.
We are?
Are we?
I thought that's what Jim said.
Mr.
We were going
Cordez?
to talk about that.
Oh, you're going to have one?
You gonna have one, Jay? Okay. You're gonna have one too?
Sure.
I thought, okay.
Jerry's is not regarding personnel. Is yours, Mr. Cordez?
If Mr. Folt returns, I will request an executive session regarding a personnel issue, yes.
Okay, but we also have a personnel summary sheet before us that is not involved in the issue that you're going to speak about.
I haven't seen the sheet,
I
Commissioner.
haven't either.
I haven't seen it either.
Well, I think it was circulated on November 26th.
Well, because it was a short week for all of us with the conference and so forth, some of the paperwork has been a
Okay,
bit
well,
confusing.
Let me see this.
We can talk about that in executive session.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Under Commissioners, item number 10, I'd like to accept the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorize the necessary tax levies and approving the alternative method, formula, and allocation of the undivided local government fund and the undivided local government revenue assistance fund and certify them to the county auditor. This will incorporate the changes to the millage as authorized by Resolution Number 02-856 that was adopted November 14, 2002.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
It's my understanding everybody agreed to it, and that's why we're voting on it. So, thank you.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Just wanted to get that in.
Under Commissioners, item number 11, need to approve the minutes and waive the reading of same for the Lorain County Board of Commissioners meeting dates of September 26th, October 3rd, 10th, 17th, 24th, and 31st, and November 7th and 14th, 2002.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Number 12, to authorize an extension of time to receive and open bids for paper products, janitorial supplies, and trash liners from Thursday, December 5th, 2002 at 2 p.m. to Thursday, December 12th, 2002 at 2 p.m. Yvonne Newton, Purchasing Director, by memo dated December 4th, 2002, has requested this extension due to some vendors that had numerous questions regarding the bid, and this would permit the Purchasing Department ample time to address their concerns.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, Yvonne, if some of these were bid individually, would you have more response from different vendors rather?
What we're doing is it is a separate bid, we're itemized. So all the supplies and stuff are like itemized, and we'll take it from there.
Oh, so they can bid on
Yes.
the item, not the bulk?
Not the whole bid as itself, because we found out in the past, if we put that in there, that we're gonna do separate bids, and we're gonna itemize them, we get better pricing.
Okay.
And just so you'll know, the janitorial supplies, this is our first year doing a mass janitorial supply, so we got with different departments. And that's the reason why, is because they have so many questions on it. This is our first time doing that one, that I want to make sure that we get good bids.
Okay, thanks. And now by mass, do you mean like some of the other entities other than just this building?
What I have encountered this year was our building itself, the Sheriff Department, Golden Acres, Job and Family Services. So those three, I had never did their janitorial supply, so this is like first.
Good, that's what we push for. That's good. I'm glad to see that they're coming together with us because we'll get volume purchasing and
Exactly.
reduce the cost. Good.
Okay. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Under Community Development Department, number 13, I'd like to approve the Lorain County Building Codes effective January 1st, 2003. Public hearings were held on September 12th and 26th, 2002. The building code incorporates the 1999 Ohio Building Officials Association Ohio Residential Code for 1, 2, and 3 family dwellings and can be adopted by any township of Lorain County, of which the Board of Trustees passed a resolution requesting that its township be a district regulated by Lorain County Building Codes.
My preference is that we wait till next week when we discuss the budget, because we're actually looking at forming a department too. And I think this should be part of the discussion with, or part of the budget process.
I appreciate that. And Ron, what I'd like to see is something in writing, what you actually think this will cost and how it will be funded.
Well, here, let's back up. I'll make it easy for you, Ron. You can go up there and talk. We're going to make you come back and forth anyway, right?
How it's going to be staffed.
We didn't gonna make any difference, but we sent over yesterday to the clerk the projections that you'd asked for at the last public hearing.
Yesterday?
Mhm.
I didn't see it. I just got back from
Well,
Columbus
and that's-
yesterday late.
That maybe is a good reason to extend this week. That's
Yeah,
not a problem.
good. All right, in that memo that you sent over, whatever information, was that, did it explain how it's going to be staffed, who's going to supervise it, and,
There may be additional questions, but yeah, we addressed how many building inspections we felt there would be on the revenue side and where the money would come in. We also projected how many inspections, and it's referred sometimes in there as hired, but when we hire, we're not talking about adding staff, but rather contracting for service. Contracting might have been a better word, but yeah, we feel that that is explained, and that will give you an opportunity to read that and review it, and then we will answer any questions for clarification next week.
all right, so either that or else I can call you and get some answers. Sure. Okay, thanks, Ron.
Rebecca Jones has worked on the projections and everything
call
quite a bit
Rebecca?
with me. That would be a safer bet, but
Okay. I'm not too keen on passing something with us without the board having a public discussion on how we're going to operate this department. I have not been sold in the way that you presented it.
Okay.
I think it should be done a different way. And
Did you tell him how you thought it ought to be? Now, when are we going to get treated to that?
I figured the budget next week.
Oh, bring your lunch. Bring your sleeping bag, too.
You need more than that. There's some people here in the audience that came because of this issue, and I was wondering if they'd like to speak regarding this issue right now. Anybody from the townships would like to?
My name is Ken Roth, Township Trustee from Columbia Township, and I noticed in your correspondence you had not yet received the letter that we sent in support of that. It's just a couple paragraphs. I'd like to quickly read it.
Okay.
Dear Commissioners, the Columbia Township Board of Trustees would like to reconfirm our support for the proposed adoption of the county building code as presented, with each township having the option to opt in or out by resolution. By township standards, Columbia Township is experiencing rapid residential growth. Our zoning inspector issued over 60 zoning permits for single-family homes during the first 11 months of 2002. We, the local elected officials, feel we cannot protect the health, safety, and welfare of our new home buyer without a building code. Many of the builders and contractors currently working in the township are unknown to us. Therefore, we can no longer depend on the reputation of local neighborhood contractor known by the builder and the local official. Unfortunately, a single-entity building department is not practicable for 60 homes annually. However, a county-administered code could practically, through economies of scale, provide efficient and consistent code enforcement for those communities throughout the county that wish to participate. We strongly urge you adopt the proposed building code. Columbia Township Trustees. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
We also received a letter from Sheffield Township trustees. They support the need and creation of a countywide building department, but they cannot at this time make a resolution either to opt in or out until the department is finalized.
I agree. I attended that meeting in Carlisle Township. It was a really good meeting. And I think the concept is real good. My only concern is how this is going to get paid for. You've got 18 townships out there. This can really grow. And I know right now we'll start off with just a few, but I think we just have to answer a few questions, but it is needed.
I agree, it's needed. It's just how we're going to implement it.
Right.
So
Well,
we'll hold
after
this.
35 years, I'm really glad that we've finally come to the point where we think it's needed.
Yeah. I'll be 41 next week.
What's that got to do with the price of eggs?
Wow, kindergarten wasn't an issue for me.
Well, we were waiting for you to grow up so
Thank
we
you.
could do it.
Well, we're still waiting for me to do that.
I bet she is. Bet she is.
We're waiting for then we'll hold number 13 for next week? Okay.
We've already approved 14. Jump to Job and Family Services, number 15. To approve and enter into a lease agreement between the Board of Commissioners and Job and Family Services, and Child Support Enforcement Agency at 42485 North Ridge Road, Elyria, Ohio, effective November 1st, 2002, expiring October 31st, 2003, based on the space cost report prepared by Maximus of Concord Township, Ohio. Lorain County Child Support Enforcement Agency is approximately 16,375 square feet, which is 18% of the available space at a cost of $6.83 per square feet, which would be $111,823 annually or $9,318 monthly. And Lorain County Department of Job and Family Services is approximately 59,320 square feet, which is 65% of the available space at a cost of $6.79 per square feet, which is $404,088 annually or $9,318.56 monthly.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
No, but I think this is great. This is the money that's paying for that building.
Mr. Moore?
That's state
Aye.
funded.
I'm sorry. Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Number 16, to authorize various personnel within the Lorain County Department of Job and Family Services to utilize the various credit card privileges for the year 2003. Usage of card is to purchase gas, oil, and emergency motor vehicle repair for the county-owned or leased vehicles not to exceed $3,000 aggregate for the Speedway, Shell, and Sunoco.
We have a new gas station.
Yeah, thank you, sorry. We'd authorize Mr. Golsky, Director, to use the Visa bank card for the purchase of food, lodging, and emergency motor vehicle repair for the county-owned or leased vehicles not to exceed $2,000.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Number 17, to approve and enter into various child day center care contracts effective January 1st, 2003 through December 31st, 2003. We have to authorize the president or vice president will authorize the contracts for the listed care centers on behalf of the board and authorize Mary Lugolsky, Director, to execute the contracts on behalf of the board as needed with the county prosecutor's approval as to form.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
Yes. Can you tell me how this program, these daycare centers are monitored?
I'm Sue Goings. I'm the Social Services Administrator for the Department of Job and Family Services. The daycare centers whom we contract with have to be licensed by the state. So they're monitored actually by daycare people who come up from Columbus and regional offices. But without a license, we cannot enter into a contract with them.
So actually, no one from the county monitors whether the children are getting proper care or if the daycare center is staffed properly?
Occasionally we do get complaints. A client or someone in the public will give us a call. We can immediately put through a call to a regional officer, Columbus, and they're out almost immediately to investigate that complaint. And they respond not only to the center and to the state, but to us as well.
I don't know if this is possible, but I've heard something that some of them, I don't want to name any of them, but that it's possible that they're not staffed properly, that like if there's 14 children in a class, that's all one teacher can handle.
Yeah, they do have very strict guidelines.
Well, I'm hearing that some of them are not going by those guidelines, and I wonder how often the state comes out to monitor this, or is it possible for the county to have someone just drop in and check that these places are run properly?
We have done that. We occasionally visit the centers because a lot of our clients we're meeting with at the centers because that's more convenient to them than bringing them into the office. However, we have no legal backing. If we were to find something out of the ordinary, there's nothing we could do legally. However, we can report that to the state people right away, which we do if we see something, and they're very prompt.
Well, I do think it's needed, though. Because a lot of times they'll lay off staff because the bottom line is profit. And then the children suffer. Parents may not even know how many children are in that class, but so they can't complain.
There's about 65 centers, primarily in Lorain County, that we contract with. The other option for parents, however, is to use an in-home provider. And we have about 300 in-home providers because some parents are more comfortable having their children cared for in a home rather than a daycare center.
Okay, I
So
think
both
we have a
options.
responsibility, since we are actually signing on the bottom line, to find out that they are, run properly.
I agree.
To monitor them. Okay, thanks, Sue, that's all I have.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Under Domestic Relations Court, item number 18, to approve the Lorain County Domestic Relations Court's application to the Ohio Department of Youth Services for $50,000 for professional services at Stepping Stone and Pathways. The court will provide drug testing, psychological evaluations, assessments, site activities, and drug and alcohol therapy to juvenile residents in the Stepping Stone and Pathways residential program, and there is no local cash matches required.
Is there anyone here?
Yes.
Tim?
Would you like to explain the program a little bit?
Tim Whitesell, Domestic Relations Court. Good morning.
Good morning, Tim.
Basically, we want to apply for this $50,000. Juveniles that come into the Stepping Stone and Pathways residential programs are there for roughly 3 months, and then they transition back into their homes. While they're there, we want to get them the anger management counseling, the drug and alcohol counseling, psychological evaluations. We want to provide this for them so we can help address the needs they have with their parents. A lot of times they're placed in here due to repeated charges and home problems in the home. So while they're in our custody, we want to address those issues and make them better so it's a smooth transition.
Tim, are the people that are going to evaluate the children, are they going to be psychiatrists, someone that can also prescribe a medication?
That's
or is it
correct.
going to be a psychologist?
That's correct. We have Thomas Zeck, he's a psychologist. We contract out with a number of different professional services that come to our site personally, and they will be able to prescribe the medication for each kid.
It's my understanding that there's a lot of psychologists, but there's not enough psychiatrists. That's why I want to make sure that a psychiatrist evaluates children. Because I don't know if you know how I feel about them, but I think it's very important that a psychiatrist make the evaluations. Because once the evaluation is completed, if that child needs medication, that's the time to catch them when they're young.
They will receive the proper services. If the psychologist can't prescribe the medicine, he'll refer it to a psychiatrist. They'll assure that each youth gets what is needed.
Does this $50,000 pretty much identify, do they identify for you in order to get it, what you can use that money for?
Yeah, there's a number of different categories that we could apply for. We fit under this section. Basically, we've got a grant right now that covers this, but it's going to be running out here for next year, so we want to start up new with this.
Well, then, if you already have a grant that's in existence now, then you have some idea if it's a psychologist or a psychiatrist that's going out there and doing the evaluations and the assessments.
I'm not personally sure which one. I know we have a psychologist. We probably have psychiatrists as well, but I couldn't answer for you that right now.
I was trying to go somewhere with that. Let me rephrase it. The way the grant is written, it sounds like you're going to be covering drug testing, psychological evaluations.
Right.
So does that leave it open to however you guys, what your interpretation of psychological evaluations are? Or is that up to the grant to decide?
That's that's whichever way we write it. That's. Well, I guess I don't understand your question. If you repeat
I think
it
Commissioner
again.
Vassy wants to know if psychiatrists are allowed to participate with this grant or not. Right?
Oh yes, definitely.
Oh, I'm sure they're allowed to. I just want to be assured that they are the ones doing the assessments and evaluations.
Yeah, they'll be the ones that doing this. It won't be untrained court staff.
I understand that, but
okay,
even a
her
psychologist is a trained person, but cannot administer medication. They can't give the medication. You need a psychologist, and the psychologist can do the proper evaluation and the proper assessment, as well as distribute the medication.
That's correct.
And determine what medication is needed. If you have a psychologist that goes in there, they're not going to be able to determine what medication is needed, or if a child even needs medication. They're just there talking, back and forth. Hi, how are you? You may as well have a caseworker out there.
The people that we have working, from the way I understand the program from the past, the people that we have working are capable of understanding what issues each youth has and prescribing the medication.
I don't know. It's only psychologists that can prescribe medication. If you give me the name...
You're saying it's only we have psychologists that are involved with the program. That's what I'm saying.
Any more questions, or?
Shirley R. Johnson Oberlin, I think you misspoke yourself, Mrs. Bassey. You said psychologist the last time, and you meant psychiatrist, and that's what you're
I'm
really
sorry.
maintaining.
Yes. Thank you for correcting me.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move for approval.
A second.
Aye.
Aye.
I would say I contingent that a psychiatrist makes the evaluations and the assessments.
Okay. County engineer, under number 19, need to amend the purchase order engineers G02111 from $18,590.16 to $20,139.34 to Americut Coring and Sawing Incorporated for the Chamberlain Road Bridge number 0049 replacement project. This project was bid on May 29, 2002 in the amount of $77,459 by resolution number 02462 on June 13, 2002. Financing should have been 74% Ohio Public Works Commission and 26% local, not as listed as 76% Ohio Public Works Commission and 24% local. That's the difference of $1,549.18.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move for amendment as outlined.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
I'd like to instruct the clerk to publish notice of a public hearing to be held Thursday, January 23rd, 2003 at 10:30 a.m. in the public hearing room for the Heritage Ridge subdivision, Brown Helm Township, Detention Basin Maintenance Cost, Greg Abraham, developer. The developer has requested that the drainage ditch and detention basins with outlet pipes for the subject subdivision be placed on perpetual maintenance in accordance with Ohio Revised Code Section 6131.63. The detention basin has been constructed for 37 lots in the subdivision. Construction cost of the drainage ditch, detention basin, and outlet pipe is in a sum of $18,800. Each sublot benefiting from these drainage items shall pay their prorated share by acreage, which amounts to 5% of the total construction cost of $18,800, and 5% of the $18,800, which is $940 per year, will be paid by all sublots. But to publish the notice in the Morning Journal on December 12th and 19th, 2002, and I will send notices to the property owners on December 30th, 2002.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Under Recorder's Department, number 21, I'd like to authorize the Lorain County Auditor to continue special fund per Ohio Revised Code Section 317.09 and 317.321 for the increase in fees proposed by Lorain County Recorder for the purpose of supplementing equipment needs of the County Recorder on an annual basis, effective January 1st, 2003, expiring December 31st, 2003.
Mr. Chairman, also move.
I have some questions. Mary Ann, can you please come on?
Are you going to make a second for discussion?
A second.
Discussion?
For discussion. Mary Ann, last year, we set the fee, your portion of that, at $3, and $1 was exempted for the employee's salary, and the entire thing was for a year, and then to reevaluate it a year later. And we're here now.
Okay. I would request that that it go back to the regular $4, the maximum amount that is allowed by the law, and that the employee be paid out of the general fund, such as in other cases with the other elected officials. They are not such a division as far as payment is concerned regarding their employees. In other words, they're not reduced in their fees, their special funds to pay for an employee.
There are some, no, DRETAC, I think, is one of them.
Well, that is stipulated in the law for the treasurers, for the treasurer and the county prosecutor, that if there is any employee that does any part of a delinquent item,
right,
then they can be paid out of that fund. But our fund does not stipulate that in any respect that an employee be paid out of the special funds, because it was for the computer equipment, upgrading the recorder's offices, and only in that aspect can we use the money.
right. Okay, we've been doing this for quite a period of time now. What more equipment do you need that you feel you need?
Well, basically, Commissioner Vacy, the recorders are facing the newest upgrade in the electronic age. And this is with everything coming through the cash register. In other words, that like it would basically in time eliminate the physical paper that comes into our office, and it would be done in an electronic manner. This has been done by already in several areas, not as much in Ohio, but they had told us a few years ago that this was going to transpire, and basically it was no ands, ifs, or buts about it. And so now it is that time in the future where this is what we are going to have to look forward to. Plus the fact that as far as equipment and the upgrading, as far as the transactions that have been coming in, we have had such a volume in the past, well, the past year basically. I mean, this is I mean, we have to get this onto the system where, you know, with the website and all. I have backdated the history to for a few years, but in order to continue to do this, excuse me, that the system will have to be at the present time upgraded to handle the volume that is going into the system, and also for further history being placed into the system.
Can you give us an idea, Marianne, just how much equipment you have been purchasing and the amounts that you've used up, like say for last year? How much equipment did you purchase and what was the amount? How much do you have left in the account?
Actually, I cannot tell you that at the present time. I did not check with the budget department. But what is the income during the course of the year is roughly, let's see, I believe I requested $230,000 this year.
John, can you help us? You have those figures, John?
I'm sorry, I did a little research yesterday on this. The
Thank you.
requested budget for next year, 203, is $250,000.
You're right.
And the expected revenue, or forecast, I should say,
Yes.
is $250,000. And the unencumbered cash as of yesterday is $160,000.
Okay, there's 160,000 in there, and out of that last year's money, that dollar was coming out for the salary of the computer person that handles this equipment.
Yes. But this is why this special fund is called set-aside funds, for the accumulation until such time that we are going to be going out, and heaven forbid that we have any disasters going on, that there is money always available to us to continue the operation of the office.
And what type of revenue did you say you expect this to generate?
taxes are about 250 a year, he said.
This,
It generates 250,000 a year, this account?
approximately,
At what, $3 or $4?
4.
At $4.
Mr. Chairman, I just a question in discussion to Mr. Rokersey. Were those funds segregated in receipt last year?
Yes, they are segregated by revenue accounts and by expenditures. Yes.
So the total is $250,000 for $4, but of that, $1 was set aside for employees and the other $3 went to supplementing equipment needs?
No, I have to, excuse me, Commissioner, I have to reprogram the information so that we do not see that dollar. So during the course of this year, we are only taking in $3. And the rest of it goes into the general fund. And if I may state that over the past, well, approximately 9 years that I have been in office, the general fund has received over $11 million that has passed through the recorder's office.
Oh, we appreciate that, Marianne. I guess my
And
question was...
that's without
why the
that's
fees are
without the
charged.
interest that the treasurer does along the way.
It is $3.
But my question was, and I need to verify that for my own purposes again, you're estimating $250,000 for receipt in 2003.
Correct.
This is for the full $4.
For the $3 is...
No, $4, John.
She's requesting an additional dollar for this year, and
Okay, I'll
that's what she
check
said.
that out.
Well, what does the $3 generate? You gave me the unencumbered for this year, but I need to know what $3 would generate.
Okay.
I don't think we need to have this information.
Commissioner,
No, I'm sorry, I guess...
that's a little unknown
I think
until...
excuse me, Marianne, but I think all we have to do is take $1 off
I'll
of
take the
each
list,
dollar of the 250,000, and that'll give it to us.
You have to remember that there's only certain designated transactions that come through. We never know what comes through during the course of a day.
I know, but if the expected revenue at $4 is 250,000, if we take $1 off of each one of those, you
Out of
understand
each
what I'm
fee,
saying?
yes, we would need a number of fees that are processed. I don't know if you have that number, Marianne.
That's what I'm saying. This is unknown until at the end of the year.
Well, do we have any
We
history
have-
from this year, John, what transpired? Apparently, we had the 3-in-1 this year. Is that what you're saying to us, Mary?
Yeah.
Here, why don't I try something here? This sounds like a budget issue that should be discussed next week. We have unanswered questions right
I
here.
would like to do
John
that.
needs to find out that additional
Yes.
information. I have issues that now we're taking on a general fund employee that was not last year. If he's going to be an IT director or an IT person, I'd love to see him work for our IT director if he's a general fund employee. But that'll be next week when we have our fun discussion with all the departments. I would like to hold this till next week.
Commissioner, I have one thing I may want to interject. Is there a statute in the code that requires us by a certain time date to adopt this? Do we have that
Yes,
time?
you have to do it before the end of this year.
Or by the end of the year?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted
Yes,
to make sure
because
we
it
were.
has to be effective as of January 1st.
Okay, but there's no date in December that the legislation has to be passed. I thought there was a date, and Jerry's nodding too. I thought there was a date in December that we had to do this by, and we may eclipse that date.
Yes.
Wait, we should hold this.
We ran
Going
into
to
that
exec,
last
We should
year.
look at the regulation before we miss some important times. So maybe 11th to the 15th or something like that.
We were down to the wire last year.
I realize what you want to do, Commissioner, but we may lose the issue completely if we don't look at the date on the code.
Well, that's fine. I'm just saying. I just already stated my position, so it's up.
Well, I wasn't trying to be argumentative as much as...
I know you're not.
Okay.
Neither am I.
Marianne, here, one more question I think you can help me with. But the off-site documents, where are they being stored now? Because I think I noticed in your letter that you're paying off-site storage for...
Yes. The
Can-
state of Ohio only recognizes permanent film
Right.
as a permanent record. So all the film or the history of the county has been stored on film. One will stay on site. It stays on site so that it's available if a title person or general public comes in and would like to view that. The other group is stored in various places. It used to be stored in just one place, but I have distributed it around the county.
Okay, I think when we went to Butler County, it needs certain conditions, air conditions or whatever. When we
That was,
went to Butler,
Delaware.
or Delaware, wherever
Yes.
we viewed, they had a special room for this. Can we do this at our record center and
No.
store it off-site?
No.
I know we probably don't have the equipment now, but maybe some of this money could be used to build this
That-
other room on.
If you will recall, Commissioner Vacy, that was like a specially built building, and that particular room was specifically built with that type of temperature for the film to be stored in.
Right, but the building wasn't built specific for a record center. This was a
No,
warehouse.
but
Maybe
the
I'm
room
thinking
was.
about a different location.
The room was, because we
The
had to
room
go.
was, yes.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
had to go
and then
through.
they had a dark room
Right.
for films.
But you would have to build.
Like a safe.
It's still stored away from the regular office itself.
Yes,
Okay.
right. But it would almost have to be in a safe type of room to protect it.
Yes. Yes.
But I'm saying instead of paying to store it elsewhere, can we do this on one of the county, at the record center, the county-owned property?
Not unless you would bring someone in, a technical person that would be familiar with doing it. Building this particular type or structuring it specifically for the film that would be stored there.
Right, maybe the money that we're paying to store this elsewhere, this could be done on county property, and then once it's done, eventually we don't have to pay for this a second time. The room will be done. You know what I mean?
Oh, I understand what you mean. One would have to check into that, though.
Would you be willing to do that?
Yes, I can contact, because Iron Mountain, where several of the recorders have stored their film, is that way, and I can ask call one of the representatives from Iron Mountain and double check, and that facility is over in Pennsylvania. Now, I have not stored this because it has always been stored throughout the county or within the county itself.
Did you say
But-
Delaware is doing it now? What county?
Several other counties stored at Iron Mountain. Several other
Oh,
counties.
it's stored at Iron Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
That's not where we're at, though, is it?
Hmm?
That's not where we're storing our...
No. As I stated, I have it within the county, but
Different location.
far enough away that should there be a disaster downtown,
It's
those
safe.
would be safe. Yes.
Okay, I would just ask if
Yeah.
we would look into it, see if we could save something.
Now, I can call Iron Mountain and discuss it with the representative as to the type of, or a company that would be out there to do that.
Or maybe some of the other counties that have this room already can give us some advice. Maybe a safe company, I don't know. I'll leave that up to you.
Well, I could call back down to Delaware County and check out down there.
I'd appreciate it, let me know.
No problem.
Mr. Chairman, in view of the discussion, I'm going to withdraw my motion and ask that we hold this until next week.
Did I second? I'll withdraw my second. We talked so far, I can't remember what I did 5 minutes ago.
Okay, thanks. And unless something comes up, looks like someone's looking up the statute,
Thanks.
we might have to come back out after executive session to discuss it, so. You have some information?
We researched the statutes, and this particular resolution would not have to be acted upon, if necessary, till the end of the year, December 31st.
Okay, that's what we were waiting for, so.
And on the rates, at least the resolution we have, unless there's an amendment, is 01-1185. It's dated December 20th, 2001. I won't read the whole thing. It's not lengthy, but it's several paragraphs. Further be it resolved, we hereby allow the recorders to allocate $3 to the equipment fund and $1 to the general fund for computer employee salary and monitor at the end of the year, which of course is now.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Mary Ann.
Thank you. So move to hold. Okay, thanks.
Treasurer's Office number 22. The accept and journal license recap, which is for delinquent real estate tax collection appropriation. The expenditure report is submitted by Lorain County Treasurer and Lorain County Prosecutor pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 321.261 for the year 2002. The amount of revenue generated pre-tax during this report period was $41,789.64. The estimate of anticipated revenue for the year 2003 is $380,000.
So move.
And this is the one where the salary goes, the money goes for salaries. I'll second that for point of discussion, but John, or maybe Jerry, maybe you can explain this a little better. The DRETAC.
Well, this is just a report explaining, obviously there's a certain amount of money that is collected from the sales, and by statute that is, there are certain proportionate shares that are allocated for the treasurer and the county prosecutor, and then we keep track of all the employees or whatever that are involved in that department are paid out of those funds.
And that's for delinquent real estate taxes,
Right.
for collection and all that.
And that's all specifically spelled out in the statute.
But it's basically all for salary, this $400-some thousand this year?
Well, no, all the, every expenditure that we go incur, advertising, secretarial staff, materials, and we get everything we possibly can into that.
This is just a report saying this is what their anticipated revenue is for next year. So.
Okay. Any more discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Reports, comments? Mr. Cordez, Administrator?
I have nothing this morning, thank you.
Okay. Assistant County Prosecutor, Mr. Ennis?
Just would like to request a executive session on pending litigation.
Commissioners report?
Commissioner Vacy?
You know, at the bottom of the agenda here, it talks about the meetings, the television, the televised meetings for the board. 11 o'clock at night. That's after the news, when everybody goes to bed, and one time a week. What's the sense of even being televised?
You know, it's almost like beggars can't be choosy, though,
Were
when
you
it's
going to
free.
look into this, Jim? I thought we were talking about it once before.
We've talked about this several times. We receive, as a public service, free access through the county community college to, I think, 96% of the people that have available cable within the county. They're pretty much the only resource we have to go through without having to pay a considerable amount of money to do that. So, as Mr. Moore so eloquently put it, we're pretty much at their mercy when they schedule us in their available time slots to air our meetings.
Well, I just don't think it's very neighborly of the college, with all the funding that we help them with, to give us a slot at 11 o'clock at night when, the majority of seniors that would like to probably watch the meeting are in bed.
And Commissioner Blair has also shared those very same thoughts with me on multiple occasions. You were much nicer about it. What I would suggest we do with the Commissioner Board is that I send a letter of request and concern to the college, asking that they possibly review where they're slotting us up on televising the meetings and ask for a more hospitable time frame.
That's what happens when your Nielsen ratings go down. They just throw you in the bad slot.
We used to have better time frames until 2000.
I know. If you could, I tell you what, why don't we do this? Just
And when we had, excuse me, Mr.
Okay.
Moore, and when we had better time frames, we also had better ratings.
Well, that's how they all say.
We had different commissions, too.
Yeah.
No, we did not. I'm talking about the last 2 years.
Trust me.
We were on twice a week.
Yes,
before,
yeah,
weren't we?
absolutely right,
No,
Commissioner
well,
Vacy.
let
And
me-
not only that, we were in better time slots.
Yes.
We weren't relegated to 11 p.m. on Monday night.
Here, why don't we, I would prefer why don't we just treat it like this? It's like, just send them a letter and ask them, hey, what's the policies of the community college regarding airing our meetings? And then get it in writing what their policies are, and then we can make a decision on whether or not we're going to use taxpayers' money to continually fund this cable spot. How's that? Because that's the decision. Is the public hearing, which we're hoping would get out to the people so they don't, because like Bob always says, nobody knows what's going on here. Well, that's what cable was supposed to do for us, was to get out to the community. So that's why they don't show up here. They can sit at home and watch. But the time frames have been so inconsistent that I think what we're asking is, can we get a more consistent airtime so that we can always promote it like our 9:30 meetings? Boom, once it's set. I think we should have the same thing. If we can't get that, that's fine. Just let us know, so then we can make a decision on whether or not to continually to spend money on something that might not be as effective as it should be.
It should be scheduled on the same day, every week at the same
Commissioner,
time.
let me address one thing, because I have had multiple discussions with the college over the last 2 years on this. The real problem is the varying length of our meetings. I had asked the board early on that we only air the public meeting itself, and then we started airing the annexation hearings, and we started airing the public this and the public that. So they never know how long our meetings are going to be, and if we just aired, our normal meeting runs less than an hour when we stay to the core of the meeting without the public
Well, just take
other
it
issues.
Those are the important, no, I won't say
But
they're
once
more
again,
important than the other things.
How would you like to be on the other end of scheduling, not knowing if it's going to be 15 minutes or an hour,
I agree.
15 minutes or 2 hours?
But let's just do this. Ask them, look, all we're looking for is a time slot. If you're allowing us 1 hour or 2 hours,
That's what it started out. And then this.
Well, then that's
And
what
when
you need
we
to get
had
it written down.
longer times, they would break it down into 2 sessions. It wasn't a big deal.
Commissioner, it was a big deal.
Well, it shouldn't have been.
Well, why don't we do this? Let's just get a dialogue going and find out what
You
make
know,
it easier for them.
excuse me, if it's not your slot, they can turn the silly music on that's on anyway when it doesn't come on time. Sorry.
Let's be kind. We're receiving.
Is Santa coming in now? We're gonna all go ho, ho, ho?
M&M isn't that silly.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay.
I'd like to suggest something just for you to think about too. Like next year, if we could take our meetings, say once a month to a different township, or even in one of in the cities, whoever will accept us or allow us to use one of their rooms,